The dark secrets of the seas have captivated humanity for centuries. Sunken ships not only carry traces of the past, but also open doors to great adventures. Today, we set sail for the most impressive shipwreck stories hidden in the depths of the oceans. Get ready. On this journey, you will both turn the dusty pages of history and discover the limits of human determination. Mutsu, salvaging the Japanese battleship. The Mutsu holds a distinct place in maritime history, etched in memory for its historical significance and tragic end. A Nagato-class battleship, the Mutsu met a disastrous fate in 1943, sinking beneath the waves and becoming the subject of a decades-long salvage operation. The Mutsu's demise was sudden and dramatic. On June 8, 1943, an internal explosion, the cause of which remains a subject of debate, tore the ship apart, sending it to the bottom of Hiroshima Bay. This tragic event necessitated a complex salvage operation, primarily to recover bodies and assess the possibility of raising the ship. Initial salvage efforts were fraught with uncertainty. Divers, after training on the Mutsu's sister ship, the Nagato, undertook a series of risky underwater missions to examine the wreck. One of these missions nearly ended in disaster when a Nishimura-type submarine became entangled in the wreckage. The crew was trapped underwater for over 2 hours with a limited oxygen supply. These dangers highlighted the challenges inherent in such salvage operations. While there were considerations to raise and reconstruct the Mutsu, the Japanese Navy ultimately deemed such a task impossible. On September 1, 1943, the Mutsu was officially struck from the Navy list, but the vessel still held some value. In July 1944, during Operation Take, 580 tons of fuel oil were salvaged from the wreck. This was a significant accomplishment considering Japan's acute oil shortage during World War II. Following the war's end, the United States Navy surveyed the wreck in 1947, and in the early 1950s, the U.S. Occupation Administration returned the wreckage to the Japanese government, paving the way for future salvage operations. These efforts culminated in the recovery of significant artifacts in 1963, including the ship's chrysanthemum crest and a 14 centimeters gun. The most extensive salvage operations were undertaken by the Fukuda Salvage Company, which acquired the rights to the wreck in 1970. These efforts, which included the salvage of the fourth turret, continued until 1978, ultimately recovering approximately 75% of the ship. However, a significant portion of the Mutsu, including a 35-meter section containing the bridge structure and the first turret, remains submerged. The Mutsu's legacy is preserved through numerous artifacts displayed throughout Japan. The Mutsu Memorial Museum in Toao houses the majority of these artifacts, while the fully restored fourth turret is on display at the former Naval Academy in Etajima. Other parts of the ship, including a 41 centimeters gun and a propeller, are exhibited at the Yamato Museum in Kure, with other components displayed at the Museum of Maritime Science in Tokyo and the Yasukuni Shrine. However, some artifacts have disappeared, such as a rudder and propeller shaft once displayed at the Arashiyama Art Museum. Waida Galley. The Waida Galley holds a prominent place in maritime history. Launched in the late 17th century, the Waida was initially built for the triangle trade, involving the trade of goods and slaves between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. However, the ship's fate took a dramatic turn when it was captured on its maiden voyage by the renowned pirate captain, Samuel Black Sam Bellamy. One of the most notorious pirates of his time, Bellamy, upon capturing the Waida, set sail along the coast of the American colonies. During this period, the Waida became a significant symbol of piracy, capturing other vessels and amassing considerable wealth. Unfortunately, on April 26, 1717, a violent storm drove the Waida aground off Cape Cod, Massachusetts. This catastrophic event resulted in the loss of most of the crew, with only 9 survivors. Of these, 2 were later released, 6 were hanged, and 1 Native American crew member was sold into slavery. The Waida and its treasure remained a legend for over 2.5 centuries, undiscovered until 1984. Barry Clifford, an underwater explorer, located the Waida's wreckage off the coast of Cape Cod buried under a relatively shallow layer of water and sand. This discovery was monumental, as the Whydah Galley is the only fully authenticated pirate shipwreck from the golden age of piracy. The ship's identity was confirmed by the ship's bell, recovered in 1985, which bore the inscription "The Whydah Galley, 1716." A small brass plaque found in 2013 further solidified this authentication. The Whydah wreck site has since become a focal point for underwater archaeology, with over 200,000 artifacts recovered, providing invaluable insights into the life and times of the golden age of piracy. One of the most poignant finds was a collection of belongings that belonged to John King, the youngest known member of the crew. King, approximately 11 years old, had insisted on joining Bellamy's crew, and artifacts like a child-sized shoe and a silk stocking found at the wreck matched historical accounts of his attire. Today, the story of the Whydah continues to captivate audiences. Recovered artifacts are proudly displayed at the Whydah Pirate Museum in West Yarmouth, Massachusetts, and at Real Pirates in Salem, Massachusetts. The Whydah Sea Lab and Learning Center, opened by Clifford in Provincetown, Massachusetts, also contributes to the ongoing exploration and educational efforts surrounding this unique and historic vessel. George M. Humphrey. The 1944 salvage of the George M. Humphrey stands as a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Led by Captain John Rowan, a Norwegian immigrant and seasoned Great Lakes sailor, this critical operation holds a remarkable place in maritime salvage history. The 600-foot George M. Humphrey sank in the Straits of Mackinac on June 15, 1943, after colliding with another vessel, the D.M. Clemson, in dense fog. The bulk freighter, owned by the Kinsman Transit Company and operated by GM and H.G. Steinbrenner, settled in 77 feet of water, posing a significant hazard to navigation. This incident marked the first sinking of a 600-foot vessel in Great Lakes history. Salvage was deemed impossible by many experts, but Captain Rowan's innovative approach challenged this notion. By partially filling the ship's ballast tanks with air, he aimed to make the vessel buoyant enough to be lifted by a smaller surface vessel and towed to shallower waters. This method, while unconventional, proved remarkably effective. The operation commenced in October 1944, under challenging weather conditions and fluctuating water levels in the Great Lakes. Divers played a crucial role, removing hatch covers and equipment from the Humphrey. Meanwhile, Rowan's barges, the MLC and Industry, worked tirelessly to remove the 13,993 tons of iron ore that the Humphrey was carrying. This phase was critical to reducing the ship's overall weight and making its lifting more manageable. In May 1945, Rowan and his team intensified their efforts. Divers attached pulleys to the Humphrey's bilge keels with an underwater steam hammer used to facilitate this process. An intricate system of pulleys and cables was established to distribute the lifting force required for the salvage operation evenly. The precision and coordination of these efforts were paramount. A crucial aspect of the operation involved making the Humphrey's water ballast tanks airtight. Divers used quick-setting cement to seal any cracks or seams, ensuring that the tanks could be effectively filled with air to provide buoyancy. This meticulous and time-consuming task was vital for the ship's eventual resurfacing. The salvage involved several stages of lifting and towing, aided significantly by Rowan's barges. The MLC, for instance, utilized its own ballast tanks and lifting cables to maneuver the Humphrey. Innovative techniques, such as compartmentalizing the barge's ballast tanks and adjusting their air and water content, were employed to balance the lifting force required for the salvage. The operation was not without its challenges. At one point, the Humphrey nearly capsized due to an imbalance, but quick thinking and a well-timed rifle shot to an airline by a crane operator saved the day. Finally, the George M. Humphrey was lifted and towed across Lake Michigan to Sturgeon Bay, where it was greeted by thousands of excited onlookers. The salvage was an expensive endeavor, with Rowan investing approximately $250,000 into the operation. Despite the financial risks and physical challenges, the successful salvage of the Humphrey was a major triumph for Captain Rowan and his team, showcasing their resourcefulness and engineering prowess. MV Tricolor. The Norwegian-flagged car carrier MV Tricolor gained notoriety in the English Channel, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, for being involved in 3 separate collisions over a 2-year period. Launched in 1987 as the Noack Sun, the 50,000-ton vessel met its fate in December 2002. On December 14, 2002, the Tricolor was en route from Zeebrugge, Belgium, to Southampton, England, carrying approximately 3,000 new cars. In the early morning hours, it collided with the Kariba, a 1982 Bahamian-flagged container ship. While the Kariba continued unscathed, the Tricolor sank in the English Channel, 17 nautical miles north of the French coast. The sinking occurred within the French exclusive economic zone near Dunkirk Harbor, France's northernmost port. Remarkably, there were no fatalities, but the vessel came to rest on its side in 30 meters of water. The location of the sunken Tricolor posed a significant hazard to navigation, as it lay at the convergence of 2 traffic separation schemes, TSS, of the English Channel and southern North Sea. Given the heavy traffic in the area, French authorities ordered the swift removal of the wreck due to the danger it posed to shipping and the marine environment. Despite extensive efforts to mark and protect the wreck, 2 further collisions occurred shortly after its sinking. The Dutch vessel Nicola, despite numerous radio warnings, guard ships, and lighted buoys, struck the Tricolor the following night. A more serious incident occurred on January 1, 2003, when the Turkish-flagged fuel tanker, Vicky, collided with the wreck, but was later freed by the rising tide. These incidents led the International Association of Marine Aids to Navigation and Lighthouse Authorities, IELA, to define the emergency wreck buoy to mark new wrecks before permanent aids to navigation and chart updates could be put in place. The salvage operation of the Tricolor commenced in July 2003 by the Dutch firm Smit International and was completed on October 27, 2004. The consortium used a carbide-coated cutting cable to slice the wreck into 9 sections, each weighing approximately 3,000 tons. The Dutch company Teledyne TSS, in collaboration with Teledyne Resin, managed the navigational aspects, employing advanced positioning equipment and side-scan sonar for systematic wreck search and salvage operations. The cargo of 2,871 new cars, including luxury brands like BMW, Volvo, and Saab, was recovered and recycled as scrap metal. Most of the oil in the ship's tanks was removed shortly after the sinking, but the salvage operation resulted in a 540-ton oil spill. The story of the MV Tricolor serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and dangers involved in maritime navigation, as well as the critical importance of effective salvage operations in minimizing environmental and navigational risks. Costa Concordia. The Costa Concordia disaster on January 13, 2012, marks one of the most significant maritime incidents in recent times. The 8-year-old cruise ship, operated by Costa Cruises, a subsidiary of Carnival Corporation, deviated from its planned route near Tuscany. The ship struck a rock formation, causing it to capsize and partially sink on an underwater ledge. The incident resulted in the deaths of 33 people, including 27 passengers, 5 crew members, and 1 member of the salvage team. The subsequent investigation focused primarily on the crew's procedures and the actions taken by Captain Francesco Schettino, who was found guilty of manslaughter for abandoning ship while 300 passengers were still on board. Most of the remaining passengers were later rescued by nearby helicopters or motorboats. Schettino was sentenced to 16 years in prison. Costa Cruises faced criticism, but did not receive any criminal charges. The Costa Concordia was declared a constructive total loss. The salvage operation, which began on September 16, 2013, and concluded on October 27, 2014, was one of the largest in history. To right the ship, the parbuckling method was used in conjunction with an underwater cradle in July 2014. The ship was refloated with several sponsons welded to its sides and towed to Genoa for scrapping, which was completed in July 2017. The wreck of the Costa Concordia became a target for looters and souvenir hunters, leading to the theft of various items, including the ship's bell and artwork. Authorities implemented tight controls around the wreck to prevent further unauthorized access and protect the environment. Adverse weather conditions raised concerns about potential oil spills, leading to protective measures such as floating oil barriers. The environmental impact was a major concern, particularly as the wreck lay within the Pelagos Sanctuary, a marine mammal sanctuary and vital ecosystem in the Mediterranean Sea. Measures were taken to prevent pollution and protect marine life, including the relocation of a population of noble pen shells. The salvage process involved numerous complex steps, including stabilizing the wreck, attaching sponsons, and refloating the vessel. The operation required advanced navigation and engineering techniques, including the use of a carbide-coated cutting cable to separate the wreck into movable sections. Throughout the operation, continuous monitoring was conducted for any potential environmental hazards. Defueling the ship was a critical component, accomplished using the hot tapping technique. The final stage of the operation involved towing the refloated Costa Concordia to an Italian port for recycling.